I want you to raise your hands if you have lived in 2 or more countries that's not your own. Growing up, I was constantly faced with the question that stumped me every single time. Where are you from? It wasn't that I didn't have an answer. It was just that my answer felt like a complicated puzzle. Picture this. Born in Pakistan in a whirlwind of places from New York, Jordan, Scotland, and finally landing in China. Explaining this journey wasn't just a Q&A. It was a trip down memory lane, a mixture of cultures that shaped who I am, a third culture kid. The term third culture kid refers to the mixed identity a child assumes when being brought up in so many environments. The struggle with the question, where are you from, isn't about the places. It's about the inability to neatly fit into a single culture. We're like chameleons, blending in everywhere, yet feeling at home nowhere. Everyone I knew strongly identified with one culture, or even 2. I had never related to that. I didn't feel like I had just one I could fix myself with. And this was the case for a lot of people I've talked to with similar circumstances. Each time we moved to a new place, I developed an attachment and a respect for their people. I felt like I could relate to several of these places despite the clear difference, and there was a big difference. But I still found everyone very similar to one another. I didn't find it hard to make a connection with someone completely different from me and what I'm used to. For example, I started my school in New York. My class was diverse with kids from different backgrounds. Kids with similar situations grouping together did not happen. We were kids. The only way for us to determine whether we got along with the other person was how much we liked Dora or some other cartoon. Fast forward, and the world became a little less simple. As I moved from country to country, I noticed a subtle shift. Kids who once bonded over shared interests began gravitating towards familiar faces. Like when I was in Jordan. I went to an international school with kids from all over the world. I made good friends with everyone in my class, including a girl from Bangladesh and a boy from Jordan. Balancing the 2 friendships was hard at first because I noticed the 2 didn't seem to interact and remain in their own groups. Although the international group of people were people from different areas. In that scenario, they were one group of international kids, whereas the rest were Jordanians. Most likely, had I not initiated a conversation with the boy from Jordan, I probably wouldn't have been friends with him. This observation made me think that this habit of being with people conventionally like you is developed as you grow. It does not necessarily happen all the time, but it is common. And although it might not always be because of nationality, it would always ensure that people of the same type would stick together. Why does this happen? It's unnatural for someone to have dislike towards someone of another group. Although discrimination still exists, this doesn't happen because everyone is discriminative. What can be a more likely reason is comfort. Growing up, you tend to put yourself into a box with your friends, your family, your views, your opinions, your daily routine. Stepping out of that box can be uncomfortable. Having moved places frequently, it's been a regular habit of mine to leave my friends and move on to a completely new set of people. And people would always ask me, "Oh, it must be hard leaving your friends behind." But oddly, it wasn't that hard. Why? Because without realizing it, I'd become a change enthusiast. Moving became exciting instead of this dreadful experience where I have to start all over again. Adapting to new environments became a strength and not a struggle. I did this by accepting that I will have to step out of my comfort zone in order to really settle in. But here's the real kicker. You don't need to hop countries to embrace change. We all experience it, whether it's a new face, a different opinion, or even something as simple as a foreign cuisine. People instinctively put themselves and others into groups. This is very natural. This is your brain's way of organizing your thoughts. You will normally associate yourself with something that's closer to your nationality, your religion, or ethnicity, or any other characterization that sets you apart from other people. And this is actually a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But there can come a time where this can create invisible barriers between people. How do we look beyond these barriers? There have been times where I've struggled with making friends, but I've learned that one key aspect of doing that is approaching, initiating conversation. This is an example of me stepping out of my box. Although doing this made me extremely uncomfortable, it also resulted in some of the best friendships I've had. Doing this means being comfortable with being uncomfortable, challenging those preconceived notions and watching how it broadens not just your worldview, but how you connect with people. It means to stop the restrictions that are holding you back, like bias and assumptions. We all carry them whether we admit it or not. But here's the thing. Your identity should be a bridge between you and a new opportunity. It should not limit you. So challenge those assumptions. Instead of viewing difference as dividers, view them as bridges to understanding. Admit that your view of the world might not be impartial, that your view of a group might not be accurate. Doing this means a number of things: researching, fact-checking, and observing the perspectives of a variety of groups of people. Ask yourself if there's a possibility of error in your judgment of anything. And by doing this active reflection on your own thoughts every single time, you will start thinking analytically rather than what you're comfortable with. Connecting based on shared interests, not just shared origins, is a guaranteed method of building bridges. Accepting differences is the key to building an interconnected society. Because in the end, the beauty lies in the diversity of our individual stories and not the stereotypes we assign. Thank you.